It's 6 o'clock. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone remember to turn your microphones on, make them so we can hear you, and turn your cell phones off. We'll have roll call.
Mayor Schoenberger.
Here.
Councillor Bain.
Here.
Councillor Baker.
Here.
Councillor Becker.
Here.
Councillor Dykes.
Here.
Councillor Quinlan.
Here.
Everybody has a copy of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 11th. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, they stand approved as submitted. Visitors and delegations. First thing under that is a presentation by the Highway 71 project engineers. Is the microphone on?
Yes.
It is? Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, put the microphone up. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Myron Hora. I work for WSP. We're an engineering firm out of Denver. CDOT's hired us to do a study for State Highway 71. I want to apologize to the people in the audience. I didn't know what the setup was going to be like. I brought a few copies of the presentation, a very truncated presentation, because what we wanted to do is give you an overview of what we're doing, and then if you have any questions, we can delve into a little further. But really what I wanted to do is, like I said, just give you a taste of what we're going to do and get a little bit of feedback potentially from you. So again, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. And for the people in the audience, I'll try to be descriptive enough so you'll understand what we're looking at. So what we're doing is a study on State Highway 71. We call it a freight diversion feasibility study, because what we want to do is to try to figure out what we can do to try to move traffic off the North Front Range, along the Front Range, I-25, US 85, US 287, and get them out here onto the plains, especially those trucks that are making a long haul. What I've provided you is a little bit of a project team makeup. And what we did this for is, especially that top part, a few of you may have worked with some of these CDOT people. They're the resident engineers who worked out of the Sterling office, in the Lyman office, who 71 covers, and then also the program and resident engineers out of the Greeley office. Again, my name is Myron Hora. I'm the project manager for WSP, and you can see I have a whole project team of various people helping us through this analysis. I'm also going to make sure that the presentation is going to be a little bit short, because you'll see when we get to it, slide number 3 is almost the same as slide number 6. So when we get to it, I'll just jump right through that one. Anyway, what we're trying to do is we're going to analyze the freight movement and impact, and what type of improvements on State Highway 71 would help to draw this traffic over here. What we also want to do is take a look at not only the economic impact to drivers, because the only way we're going to get people to drive on State Highway 71 is if it makes economic sense to them. They're not going to take it just because it's a pretty roadway, because it passes out through some of the nicer areas of Colorado. They're just going to take it because it's an economic benefit to them. So we're going to take a look at the economic benefit for the truckers, but we're also going to take a look at the economic benefit to the local communities. We've met with a few different people, and I'll get to that a little bit later, so you can understand a little bit of who all we've been talking to in your communities as we've moved this thing forward. So State Highway 71, a little bit of background. State Highway 71 is part of a federally designated high priority corridor of the Heartland Express. The Heartland Express is part of an overall piece of corridor going all the way from Mexico to the Canadian border. It's the major north-south route running through the middle of the United States. And State Highway 71 is the last piece from Lyman to the Nebraska state line is the last piece in Colorado that's hasn't been improved. So CDOT wants us to take a look and figure out what kind of improvements they need to do and where would those improvements start. So the project goes again from Lyman on up to the Nebraska state line and looking, so that's the project limits, that's the piece that we're really taking a look at. What we need to do though to understand how traffic's moving and the way to make it work better is to take more of a regional focus. So we're looking all the way, not only from Mexico to Canada, but also from Texas up into Nebraska and Wyoming. Because as truckers are driving, as people are driving in their private vehicles, there's certain locations, they make a decision. I'm either gonna go over towards I-25 and travel along the interstate, or I can stay out here to the east. And what we wanna do is try to capture them at those locations and say, does it make sense now to stay a little bit further outside of the metro areas? Again, we're gonna skip slide 6. A little bit of the project schedule. We've already gathered most of the information on existing conditions. We're moving into the modeling and improvement evaluation phase. And I'll get into that a little bit longer, a little bit more. We're gonna do an implementation plan and then a final report. We plan on wrapping this all up by April of next year. So, you know, as we look at the proposed improvements analysis, and how we're gonna do that analysis, we're gonna model 6 different packages of improvements along State Highway 71. We had a TAG meeting a little bit earlier. Monty came down, was represented, and Dale also. And what that is our technical advisory group. And we started looking at different options and packages of way the highway could be improved. So we went everywhere from a divided 4-lane section to a super 2, but it's really a nice 2-lane highway with full shoulders and full lanes. And everything in between, the 2-lane with passing lanes, a 2-lane turn lanes, and a 4-lane non-divided highway. So we had a real good conversation to our meeting, went over a lot of different options on how we're gonna do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all these different improvement packages and ideas that we've come up with and put them into a freight model. Now, our freight model is based on national commodity movement. It's a national freight model that takes a look in each county has kind of designated based on 43 different commodities, where things are being produced, where they're being consumed. And when you know where they're being produced, where they're being consumed, you can plug them into this model and it tells you which direction they're going on the national highway system to get there. So that system includes all of the national highway system, the interstates, and all major state roads in all of the United States. And when you start plugging all this information in, you can see where the traffic is flowing to. So based on that, based on the improvements we make, we do things so it says, okay, how does this become a more attractive highway for trucking? Again, you play to that economic benefit for them. If we can make it safer, if we can make it so that we get rid of some of the bottlenecks. You don't want to talk about bottlenecks. Perhaps it's the 90-degree curves where you have to slow down to 45 miles an hour. Those kind of things. It makes it more safe, makes it a little quicker, and they might decide to take it. We've talked a little bit about potential routes around downtown. Very conceptual stage. If anything like that was to come out, it would need a whole nother level of analysis and study. Because you start doing those kind of things, it gets a whole lot deeper. What we're trying to do at this one, like I said, is just the feasibility. If you make these improvements, would it even work? So some of those ideas of improvements I talked about, you know, we're looking at passing lanes, climbing lanes, safety improvements, the shoulders, turn lanes, anything that would help, like I said, make it a little bit safer, make it a little bit quicker. And also, you know, taking a look, especially on the safety side, some of the geometry. The curves I talked about, some sight distance problems when you're looking, popping over a hill, there's driveways that you can't see very far, or situations like that. So I know I kind of went over it fairly fast. I just wanted to kind kind of give you a brief overview of what we were doing, and if you have any questions, we can definitely take it a little bit further if we have time.
Are there any questions? Thank you. It's a good report. I hope things,
Dale are doing a great job representing you.
Yeah.
They've been coming to our meetings, and I'm sure they'll bring, if they have any questions, ask one of them, bring it to one of our next
Yeah.
meetings.
All right.
Thank you again.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The only other portion on here that has a built-in public hearing is the place for cargo containers. So if anybody wants to speak about anything other than cargo containers, now would be the time, if there's any comments.
Carbon is on.
Yes.
12600 Morgan County Road, 28.5. The object of my discussion apparently isn't here, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and say what I wanna say for the record. I am kind of surprised that it's taken this long for Janine to finally come to reckoning with the city council and certain ones that have been in her path, considering her long history of making threats against people, intimidating people, belittling people, and basically being a bully, both on social media and publicly, when confronted by someone or anyone that she considers beneath her, someone who she feels has crossed her, or someone who does not agree with her. And of course, we all know everyone needs to be treated with respect and dignity, Janine. And in all facets of life, especially when interacting with those who are there to help you, which all of you are there to help her, and everyone here has been there to help her. And I know how she treats people. And you've all been probably a brunt of a lot of her remarks. I would like to read a few lines from a woman that wrote a letter to her to try and convey to Janine about her position. This woman is
Remember,
a wife.
There is a
of a
3-minute
law
time
officer.
limit, so.
Excuse me?
There is a 3-minute time
I
limit.
know,
Okay.
don't interrupt
Yeah.
me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. No.
It says, I can tell, it says, this is to Janine, I can tell you are confused and feel attacked. After all, you think you have personal rights to say what you want. You think you're fully entitled to say F the police in a joking manner. She goes on to say, if you are stuck on thinking that you have a right to free speech, even though it's hateful and unfair, and in my opinion not right, there is something else that comes into play. Something that you knowingly agree to when you become a public service. Your job has a built-in moral compass to help guide you when you seem to have lost your way. She goes on to say, you cannot pick and choose who you serve and who you don't. Sure, you can say it's your private life, but you know what? Public servants don't get much of a thing to say, so you may be in the wrong line of work, and it may be best for you just to get out now. And I happen to agree with this woman. It might be the best for Janine to get out now. And the best thing for the city of Rush, your constituents, the council, and everyone else that you have abused and threatened and intimidated within the capacity of your position, that maybe it's time for you to step down. And I'd just like to say that Janine's response to the woman, and just kind of paraphrase it, she says, I couldn't care less what a cop's wife from outside of Rush thinks. I just am astounded at how this woman responds to someone that took the time to write a letter to her about how she should conduct herself. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Kat Paul. I'm a resident on Ward 3. I've come tonight to address Ms. Anderson and the council about her actions. Obviously, Ms. Anderson chose not to show up or is unavailable, so I'm still going to read what I want because I would like it on the record. First, I would like to address Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson, for running such a clean and productive, positive campaign, which you have so given point to show us, why Why would you not respect your seat with such respect and admiration? As a voter of yes, I did vote for you, I am mortified on how you are representing our ward. As a South Side, we already have a hard time to include the Brush community, and your response back, I feel, has sealed our fate as to be the slum cop-hating, law-breaking citizens, and that, ma'am, I will not stand for. I ask you, Ms. Anderson, to step down and take responsibilities for your comments that you have made on, and that those comments are your personal views and not represent Ward 3. Now I would like to address the council members and the mayor to look at the evidence presented tonight, and for Ms. Anderson, she is not to step down. I plead with you to remove her for her remaining term and to review if she is fit to serve her next. The evidence, which I have, I will hand out accordingly if needed. But to summarize, the ethics code she broke not once, but also when she was warned and censored, she again broke it again. She's tagged family members and friends who have threatened the community with lawsuits in a mass shooting, I feel. In fact, I'm very frightened to be here tonight. I'm shaking if you can't tell, because of such things were said. But like I said, I can't stand for it. The Ward C citizens asked for immediate actions because 6 months to recall her may be too late to recover from her personal agenda and personal beliefs. And who only knows what will happen if she remains in her position. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Eric, and I live inside my body.
I think we need a better address than that.
Doesn't
Oh.
get better address than
Okay.
this body right here.
All right.
My name is Eric, and I live inside my body. And I'm not from Rush, so you should be ashamed of yourselves that I'm even here tonight. The reason why I'm ashamed of you guys is because you're giving Colorado a bad name. You're giving Colorado because while some people are concerned about a council person's personal agenda, is there one among you that does not have a personal agenda? You have to be honest with yourselves if you're going to be honest with us. And that woman, just like all of you here, put your yard signs with your pictures out there and said, come talk to me, vote for me. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to be your voice. You can't silence her voice. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you people, but fuck the police. It's
can you-
absolutely protected speech. Excuse me, I'm speaking. You are to listen to me, period.
If you don't behave, I'll cut you off.
If you cut me off, that would be a terrible thing for you.
Really?
Yes? Are you silencing my speech, Mayor?
Not yet.
You need to address this council with respect.
I don't have to
We-
fucking address you with nothing.
Yes.
Say, you work for me. You work for these people. And if you don't like the word fuck, then that's too bad. You shouldn't have taken the job.
I think we're done.
I'm sorry, am I being removed from the podium?
You are.
Am I being removed from the building? Am I being arrested?
No, you're just being removed.
I object to this unlawful silencing of my speech. Ladies and gentlemen of Brush, get ready for a motherfucking surprise!
He's not from Brush.
No. Anyone else? All right. If there's no one else, we will continue on with management. So we'll move on to management, public hearing, consider the adoption of an amendment to the City of Brush Land Use Code for cargo containers. I will open the public hearing, and Karen will give a staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillor. We're going to do a tag team staff report this evening because I have with us Martin Landers with Plan Tools, the consultant we used on this project. We were tasked with developing regulations to help with the siting and placement of cargo containers within the City of Rush. And with that process, we did some extensive background work identifying where all of the existing containers were in the city and had multiple opportunities for the public to express their opinions. and concerns and desires around this particular topic. And those opportunities consisted of a public open house event on October 10th, as well as the Planning Commission and City Council sat down at a joint work session on October 16th. It was from those different activities where we got the bulk of the information we needed to develop a set of regulations. And it was on November 20th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing regarding the proposed ordinance and made some recommendations to City Council. So at your November 27th meeting, you had the introduction and first reading of this particular ordinance. And tonight, we are at the place where we have the public hearing on the content of that ordinance. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Martin Landers to talk in more detail about the content of the ordinance.
Thanks, Karen. Well, good evening, Mayor and members of council. As Karen mentioned, I'm Martin Landers with Plan Tools. And the purpose of this public hearing is to consider an ordinance that would adopt an amendment to Chapter 16 of the Brush Municipal Code concerning cargo containers. And just to give you a little bit of background, the council adopted resolution, actually an ordinance back on October 11th, imposing a moratorium on the placement and siting of cargo containers. And since that time, we've held a public open house event to get public feedback on a variety of options associated with the placement of cargo containers. And we've also been able to meet with both the Planning Commission and the City Council in the joint work session to talk about the various options for cargo container placements. And at that work session, the council and the commission directed us to prepare the ordinance that you have before you tonight. I'd like to give you a little bit of, hit the highlights, I suppose, with that ordinance. First of all, there are 4 new definitions proposed, one for cargo container, one for enclosed storage, one for outdoor storage, and one for temporary portable storage unit. The regulations themselves are within Article 7 of the Brush Municipal Code, which is the zoning regulations. And so there's a whole new section now under the supplementary use standards associated with cargo containers. Cargo containers would be permitted as an accessory structure only within the commercial core zoning district, the commercial zoning district, and the industrial zoning district. Under this ordinance, cargo containers would be prohibited in residential zoning districts. They would need to conform to all the applicable regulations for accessory storage structures. There are a number of different standards associated with cargo containers, including setbacks, the number, depending on the particular zoning district that they're to be located in, along with some restrictions associated with obtaining a special use permit for each of those districts. The color of the cargo containers, they would need to be painted a neutral color, and then they would not be able to be used as a principal structure on any lot, except as part of an actual outdoor storage facility itself. Finally, a cargo container could not be used or converted or altered for any other purpose besides storage. So, for example, they could not be turned into a tiny home or a workshop or something of that nature. Also, there's a unique little component to this with temporary portable storage units, which most of you may know as pods that are typically used for people that are moving. Those would be permitted in the front driveway of a residential structure for up to 2 weeks when people are moving. So there is that carve out for that type of a cargo container per se. So the last item here is that cargo containers that exist prior to June 1st of 2017 can be permitted to continue as a non-conforming use with some conditions. And the one condition is that they be painted a neutral color, and also that any container that be located within a special flood hazard area would comply with the city's flood damage prevention regulations. So with that, I'll open up any questions that you might have for me.
All right. Time for public comment. Any public comment on storage containers? All right, no questions from council, so I will close the public hearing. Now we'll have a second Is there a motion for the second reading of ordinance number 863-17, adopting an amendment to Chapter 16 of the Brush Municipal Code concerning cargo containers? A motion to approve on second reading and publish in the News Tribune by title only.
I'll make a motion that we approve on second reading of ordinance number 863-17, adopting an amendment to Chapter 16 of Brush Municipal Code concerning cargo containers.
Motion second. Discussion?
I'd like to thank Martin for all the work that you put in on this, the regulation part of this and stuff. You've been invaluable to us as far as giving us options and ideas, and I thank you for that.
All right. Roll call vote.
Mayor Schomburger,
Yes.
Councillor Bain,
Yes.
Councillor Baker,
Yes.
Councillor Becker,
Yes.
Councillor Dykes.
Yes.
Councillor Quinlan.
Yes.
Moving on to number B, award the bid for the fire department building expansion.
Okay, this is the project that we've been working on jointly with the Rural Fire District, and it's for taking down a portion of the fire department building that we have now. It's just the bay area that we're gonna be removing, and then putting up in place of that a metal building that's approximately about double the size, and that's for the additional equipment that we have for firefighting that are the standard of today, and just over time we've grown a little bit. Also, the current building, the block on that part of the bay has been failing over the years, and so versus trying to fix that, we want to look at a longer term solution. So appeared that the best solution was a pre-engineered metal building, and on October 16th we had a mandatory pre-bid walkthrough. We advertised it as normal through the papers, and it was also out on some different contractor websites. And we had 9 contractors that were present that day at the mandatory walkthrough. Of those 9, we had 5 contractors submit bids. Those bids range from $1.4 million to $2.1 million. We had a 7-member committee that reviewed all the documents, and we also sent out additional questionnaires for 3 of those because we did a short listing, so we actually interviewed 3 different companies. And after having the interviews with the 3 remaining companies, Buildings by Design was selected. And it's just important to understand we had 1.4 million to 2.1 million, so we had a pretty wide range. The higher ones, they're just so far out of our budget that we weren't going to be able to hire them. But the 3 low ones, when we did the interviews and we really looked at their packets, they all bid things a little bit differently. So some included some metal sheeting on the inside of the buildings. Some included fire suppression systems, and some included more concrete than others. So, but at the end of the day, when we looked at the quality of everything, of the packets, and then the knowledge of the contractors, and we actually did some reference checking on some of them. Buildings by Design was selected, and so tonight what we're asking is for approval from the City Council to move forward with securing a contract with Buildings by Design. Also in your packet is from the Brush Rural Fire Protection District is their letter of support to the project. This is a 50-50 project between the Rural Board and the City of Brush. And in your packets you will also have an agreement, and you'll have acceptance of notice and a few other documents that we need signed by the mayor. And we are also currently working on the final contract, which that agreement we think will be done this week. And so we need approval from council on those documents.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the bid for the fire department building expansion.
Second.
Building for design?
Yeah.
By building.
Yeah.
or by design.
Buildings by Design. Motion and a second.
Second.
Discussion. Yeah.
Oh, one thing I'd like to say, I'd like to really thank the Rural Fire Board for partnering with the City of Brush to get this done. It's been a long time coming, and the people were good enough to give us the money and a ballot measure to do it, so now we're gonna show them we're gonna use the money wisely, so thank you.
Very good. All right, roll call vote.
Mayor Schomburger,
Yes.
Councillor Bain,
Yes.
Councillor Baker,
Yes.
Councillor Becker,
Yes.
Councillor Dykes.
Yes.
Councillor Quinlan.
Yes.
Moving on to number C, resolution number 2017-21, a resolution finding that the city council code of conduct has been violated in several particulars and imposing public censure on the offending councillor. And I'll start off by saying that this discussion is about these two complaints only. The discussion takes place because it deals with this council, and there's a new council that'll be seated at the next meeting with new members, and it needs to be discussed and finished here, and it goes against possibly the integrity and the abilities of this current council, and it could be viewed as a reflection on all the current council members. It needs to be resolved. This discussion is limited to these two complaints only and is not in any way any criminal investigation. This discussion has no bearing on any criminality or lack of criminality. We are only discussing these actions as they relate to our City Council Code of Conduct that was unanimously reaffirmed on February 22nd, 2016. It is possible that an action can be deemed violating the Code of Conduct and yet not be criminal, and also possibly an action can be criminal yet not violating the Code of Conduct. And we are just discussing the Code of Conduct. The resolution, it's fairly lengthy. I'll read it. A resolution finding that the City Council Code of Conduct has been violated in several particulars and imposing public censure on the offending councillor. Whereas the City Council adopted a City Council Code of Conduct by Resolution 2015-4 and reaffirmed said code by Resolution 2016-3, the code, and whereas all members of the City Council are aware of the requirements of said code, and whereas all members of the City Council are encouraged to attend at least 12 hours of training annually in governance matters, and the City has afforded the City Council, including Councilmember Anderson, the opportunity to attend such trainings, and whereas there have been a number of instances when Councilor Anderson has been alleged to have acted in a manner contrary to said code, and whereas one of the reasons for the adoption of said code was to address complaints about abusive and inappropriate behaviors by Councilor Anderson, which complaints were received at various times in 2014 and addressed by the mayor with Councilor Anderson in a meeting in June of 2014, and whereas despite the adoption of said code and the meeting with Councilor Anderson, complaints concerning such behaviors have continued, and whereas the mayor met with Councilor Anderson again in March 2017 to advise her of the complaints that had been received since the last meeting, and to inform her that should any future complaints be received, they would be dealt with in accordance with said code by the entire council in a public setting, and whereas in the interval subsequent to that last meeting, additional complaints have been received, and whereas the most recent complaints include an allegation that Councilor Anderson posted personnel-related information concerning a former city employee on social media and made a derogatory statement about a city department on social media, and whereas the most recent complaints involve social media postings made under the name of Janine Anderson, screenshots of which were received by the city, whereas Councilor Anderson alleges that these social media postings were illegally obtained through unauthorized use of her private social media account, according to a notice of claim from Councilor Anderson dated November 25th, 2017, and received by the city on November 27th, 2017. And whereas the social media postings in question actually came to the city's attention when screenshots of the same were transmitted to the city through lawful and legitimate sources, and not because of any use of Councilor Anderson's social media account by the city, and whereas the city accordingly finds and determines that these complaints against Councilor Anderson are well-founded, and whereas one social media posting constituted a violation of sections A9 and A19 of the code by making a personal attack on a citizen utilizing personnel information that was not addressed in any open meeting of the council, and whereas the other social media posting constituted a violation of sections A9 and A26 by referring to a city department in an extremely disrespectful manner and in a manner that threatens public confidence in the integrity of the department and the city, as well as the morale and well-being of that department, and whereas the code permits the council to take actions in response to violations of the code, including but not limited to remedial or educational training, public warning, removal from any appointed position of policy liaison role, public censure, and removal from office, and whereas, pursuant to the code, the mayor requested another meeting with Councilor Anderson on December 11th, 2017, and the mayor reported to the council at the December 11th, 2017 work session that Councilor Anderson declined the mayor's request, and therefore the matter was not resolved to the mutual satisfaction of the mayor and Councilor Anderson, And whereas, following the mayor's report to the council that date and discussion by other councilors and Councillor Anderson, the city attorney was directed to prepare a draft resolution of public censure of Councillor Anderson for consideration by the city council at a special meeting on December 18th, 2017. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Brush, Colorado that Section 1, the recitations stated above are incorporated in this resolution in full. Section 2, Councilmember Anderson is hereby publicly censured for the violations of Sections A9, A19, and A26 of the Code as described above. Section 3, in the event of any additional sustained allegations of violations of the Code, the Council reserves the right to take such action as appropriate, including the imposition of more severe sanctions. It was a mouthful. Should I read off the sections of the code that are pertinent, or do you guys know them? Do you want to just start discussion?
I'm aware of them.
Pardon?
I'm
We have
aware of them.
copies of
You have
it.
copies? Okay. Is there discussion?
I just think people need to be aware of what the censure is. It's not really any formal actions other than we're just stating that we do not operate as one person, and it's 7 of us, and I don't go with what one person is saying about the rest of us. We're making decisions for the rest of us. Comments, I don't back her. It's my opinion.
I would just like to say that I received numerous comments from community members that felt she was out of line and that it was disrespectful and that they expected more from a counselor.
I'd say these 2 postings that we saw were highly disrespectful, they were highly offensive. And as a council, we agreed to abide by a certain code of conduct. We unanimously agreed, and we also approved that stipulation. What's also troubling to me is over the past week, I've seen more of the same on Facebook. I've seen screenshots that people are putting up where she has responded to them, and it's just more of the same of what we've seen in the past. This kind of behavior is detrimental not only to this council but to the community as well. People expect, as they should, that elected officials would rise above that level of discourse. Respect goes a long way, especially in the role that we find ourselves, and people expect us to handle situations in a more dignified manner. I think ultimately it's going to be up to the people in Ward 3 to determine what type of representation they want on this council. That's all I have to say.
Right. Anything else?
I've talked to more people in the past week than I have in 6 years on city council here. Very concerned about this. You know, without a police department, fire department, without a military, we have no Brush City Council. We have no United States of America. So I, for one, appreciate what the police officers do for us, the military, the fire department, and I really appreciate you guys come over to the middle school when you do for all your service. So I'm very concerned about this. It's not appropriate. We need an apology from Ms. Anderson, and we'll see what happens next time she's here.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Oh, wait, we
Oh.
haven't had the motion. We haven't had a motion.
Haven't had a motion.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2017-21, a resolution finding that the City Council Code of Conduct has been violated in several particulars and imposing public censure on the offending counselor.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. We had discussion. Anything further? And roll call vote.
Mayor Schomburger?
Yes.
Councillor Bain?
Yes.
Councillor Baker?
Yes.
Councillor Becker?
Yes.
Councillor Dykes?
Yes.
Councillor Quinlan?
Yes.
All right, moving on. Finance, the finance will meet after Christmas when we have that cycle of bills coming in. So there's no finance report. Staff reports. Joanne.
I have nothing this evening.
Police. Travis.
Wasn't going to say this until we had an incident tonight, but I want to thank the officers and the undersheriff for being here and addressing the issue. They addressed it professionally and with integrity, and so thank you. And that individual is now headed to Morgan County Detention Facility. Some good things. I helped out with the Golden Stars program. Lieutenant Hardy and myself went to an FBI training for public information officer in Denver this week. It was really informative, so really enjoyed it. And then Officer Leroy Brown assisted with the State Patrol accident. Ultimately, 154 pounds of marijuana was seized from that vehicle. So I believe we helped the SO as well. They were there, so.
Thank you. Community Development, Karen.
You know, I don't have anything new to report on this evening. This is somewhat old news, but it's definitely exciting for our community. And I'm sure everyone's aware that the Loves is up and running, and it's been a great honor to work with their development team on that project. It's been a wonderfully supportive project, and as staff, been very glad to have been a part of helping them get their project up and running. And after dark, if you have not seen the lovely sign that they put up that highlights Brush, I recommend that you do so, because it is a lovely and nice addition to welcoming people to our community.
Yes, very nice. Dale.
Thank you, Mayor. More good news. And so I'd just like to report that the William Street Drainage Project is substantially complete at this point. What we're looking at is replacing some of the sidewalk we had to remove out in order to do the upgraded drainage. And we're also doing a 50-50 nearby. We will be moving over to Edmonds and Hospital Road, another historical hotspot for flooding, and hopefully have that done by the end of the year. For 2018, we plan on moving back to Harvard, as well as Stanford, Cambridge, as well as Princeton Court area, and continue to work on those areas, see if we can't get those to improve.
Very good. Thanks. City Clerk.
Yes, today we held our first hearing before our hearing officer with the Liquor Licensing Authority, and we approved the hotel restaurant liquor license for El Yaquel Grill, and it will be forwarded to the state, and hopefully they'll be up and running with margaritas.
City Administrator.
Couple items. First one is Myron Hora, who was here presenting from CDOT, or the engineers from CDOT that they've hired. The areas that we had discussions on today with the improving the highway system, the 71 up through Brush, they also had some discussions about, is there any interest in a bypass, you know, for trucks to go around Brush? And I explained to them that's more of a city council policy, not my policy. So I wanted them to be here just to see who they are, because at some point in time they may come back and want some feedback from the city council if they should be looking at that as a bypass area. And also we'll ask them to visit with the county commissioners, because it affects county residents as well, if they decide that as an option. Also a heavy focus on ADA issues, and so I know we're talking about 71, but if you increase truck traffic on 71, just by the proximity of 34 is going to get some additional truck traffic. And so we've all seen electric wheelchairs going down Highway 34, you know, trying to get to grocery cart or some of the other places. And so we have those very narrow sidewalks, and we're planting the seeds to see if there's any way that they can move us up on that safety study that they need to do for getting funding for this project. But maybe that'll help with that piece of it too. Also, I brought forth that the floodplain is still an issue, and there's another group studying the floodplain, but make sure they're talking to each other. So if there's any potential projects that might improve the floodplain, I didn't want them to miss that opportunity. And also, they're also trying to get a better feel of what this is going to do economically for the community, because trucks and more traffic, I mean, there's good and bad to it, but some of the good is some economic development opportunities, so they're going to do some studying on that. Other item is I brought to City Council and the City Finance Committee's attention that in next year's budget we had planned for a snow blower, and I explained that there's a potential of getting a pretty good deal on a snow blower for the community. This is the very large snow blower that goes on front of a large loader, but the price that we had in the budget for next year is $141,000 for it. The guys decided to go shopping early and see if they could find any deals, and they're going to get one for under $83,000. So we haven't even got into next year, but you're going to save quite a bit starting off. So roughly $60,000 savings right off the bat. So we're excited about that. And that should be delivered first week of January.
Hopefully we won't snow before then. Council reports.
Hi.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. I just have a couple proposals to maybe help the council with some of these issues that we've been having. I'd like to review the code of conduct at every meeting, maybe during a work session. You know, not all of it at once, but just like parts of it. And just review that every meeting during our work sessions so that we're reminded of the code. Also, I was asked by several people how we could help with the police department, you know, and the morale now that this has happened. And one of the things I suggested was to create a police donation fund where people could donate, and that fund could be used for like Christmas bonuses, or, you know, if somebody was injured or killed in the line of duty or something like that, we could help their family out with some money. And so that's one idea that I discussed with several people.
Those are very good ideas.
So I want
Yep.
to talk about those more later.
Yep, work session, and we will get into all that.
Okay.
So, yeah, very good.
Okay, so if you'll bear with me, I have a few notes I wanted to share on my last meeting. It's been just over 8 years that I've been on council, and I have very mixed feelings. During that time, I've met many good people and learned how the city runs. I'll be honest, when I first started, I thought you guys didn't talk about anything and just quick vote and move on or drug things out forever. But trust me, there's a lot more to it. And it's a rewarding experience. I've enjoyed moving Brush forward and being fiscally responsible. I hope as a community you know that over the years, I didn't vote on things how I may have sometimes personally wanted to vote, or with any hidden agenda, but I voted as the majority of the community that reached out to me and had asked of me for what appeared to be best for Brush. In general, this council has never just been a group of yes people that gives others what they want. Trust me, we have said no many times. We have had our debates, whether it was over the topics of marijuana, purchasing property, incentives, and chickens. To those coming on council, I wish you well. It is a rewarding privilege to be in these seats. To those that carry on, I pray that you can get back to a smooth running council as this city has had, and it deserves again. I honestly do not understand how things lately of one person has taken such a turn with our Brush Council. I personally am offended at the black mark currently added to this council and the city for that matter. I don't appreciate how some people now may have the impression that we as a council all think the same, talk about subjects we are not allowed to discuss, or that one person represents the rest of us. None of us are perfect, but this truly has gotten ridiculous. I would like to share words that I was told by my parents growing up, and even reminded and elaborated on by Ron Prasher when he asked me to run for council. Kim, just always be open, honest, treat others as you want your family and yourself treated. You are good people, and you will do great things for Brush. So folks, it doesn't matter if we're private or in public. We are representing this city, and yes, higher standards are expected. This doesn't come with any special treatment, any special favors, or free rein for vendettas or hidden agendas. We are here to represent and shine well for this Brush, the city of Brush. I would like to say thank you to the staff, Monty, the mayor, and other council members, and above all, my family. For over the last 8.5 years, whether it be from questions for more details, the long meetings, the extra meetings, stress, late dinners, missed family functions, it has been a privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, very well said. But you do have to come in January.
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes, and then you and I both are back there. So, yeah, but we got
Agreed.
one last little
Agreed.
bit there. All right. But those were excellent words. Thanks. Kind of technically, I have decided to remove Janine from any committees that I have appointed her to for that. And also, in case you guys were wondering, this morning was the court date for Janine's restraining order that she filed on me. She did not show up. So that restraining order is vanished and is gone, and there's nothing there with that. And, yeah, the particulars on that. So that's it for that. We have an executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for city administrator evaluation?
I make a motion to go into executive session, CRS section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses F, for city administrative evaluation.